The fallout of wanting an open relationship, a wife's regretful journey, is a poignant tale about Clara, a woman who, in search of excitement and novelty, proposes an open relationship to her husband, James. Initially hesitant, James agrees, but the decision leads them down a path of emotional distance and confusion. As Clara explores new romantic encounters, she realizes that the freedom she sought only leaves her feeling emptier, while James becomes more withdrawn. Struggling with the consequences of her choices, Clara eventually understands that what she truly longed for was the love and connection she had with James. In the end, the couple faces the painful reality of their decisions, working together to rebuild trust and rediscover the depth of their love. It was a quiet evening in Berlin, the dim light of the dining room flickering as Clara sat across from James, her hands nervously folding a napkin on the table. The smell of freshly brewed tea hung in the air, but Clara's thoughts were miles away from the warm comfort of the evening. She had been holding this conversation in for weeks now, and tonight felt like the right time. "James," she began, her voice soft but filled with a tremor of uncertainty. "I've been thinking about something important for us." James looked up from his tea, his face furrowed in confusion. "What is it, Clara?" Clara took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. I think we need to try something different. An open relationship. Just to explore, experience something new, together and separately." James sat back in his chair, stunned. His mouth opened, but no words came out. His mind raced. Could this be real? Was she serious? "Clara, are you sure?" he finally asked, his voice heavy with disbelief. Clara nodded, her blue eyes meeting his, searching for some sign of understanding. "I'm not unhappy, James. I love you. But I feel like I need more. To feel alive again. I don't want to lose you, but I think this is something I need to try." The silence that followed was deafening. James didn't know what to say. His heart was racing, his thoughts scattered. Could their marriage survive this? The next few days passed in a haze for James. He couldn't shake the conversation from his mind. He loved Clara deeply, but the idea of sharing her, of opening up their relationship, felt like a betrayal. Was this what they had worked so hard to build together? That evening, after another quiet dinner, James found himself standing at the window, staring out at the dark skyline of Berlin. The city was alive with energy, but his heart felt like it was sinking into a void. Clara walked up behind him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "James, I know this is hard," she whispered, "but I need you to understand. This isn't about us falling apart. It's about finding new ways to connect." He turned slowly to face her, his brow furrowed. "But what if it changes everything? What if it breaks us?" Clara's face softened, but her eyes betrayed the uncertainty she felt. "I don't want it to break us, James. I just want to feel like I can breathe again." James took a deep breath, his mind still clouded with doubt. But looking at her, he knew that if he loved her, he had to try. Maybe this was the answer. Maybe they could find a way to make it work. Weeks later, Clara sat nervously in a small cafe in Kreuzberg, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup. She had met Adrian, a charming man with green eyes and a quiet confidence, on a dating app. Tonight was their first date. She wasn't sure what she expected, but the flutter of excitement in her chest told her that something was about to change. Adrian arrived on time, his easy smile lighting up the room. He was taller than James, with a casual yet stylish air about him. Clara felt a rush of nerves as they exchanged pleasantries and sat down at a small table near the window. "So, how's the world of open relationships treating you?" Adrian asked with a playful grin. Clara chuckled nervously, adjusting her posture. "It's different. I'm not sure what I'm looking for yet, but I think I just needed to try something new." Adrian leaned forward slightly, his gaze intense. "Well, you've come to the right place. I'm all about new experiences." As the evening wore on, Clara felt the pull of something unfamiliar, a spark, a connection, but not the one she had with James. She wasn't looking for love, just a distraction, but still, the attraction was undeniable. Months passed, and Clara found herself meeting more people, going on more dates, and feeling the rush of excitement every time she stepped outside the boundaries of her marriage. But as the novelty began to fade, so did the fulfillment. She couldn't help but compare every encounter to the one she had with James, and none of them seemed to measure up. James, on the other hand, was retreating further into himself. The more Clara ventured into the world of open relationships, the more distant he became. He could see the change in her eyes, the way she looked at him with less affection. He was losing her, and it terrified him. One evening, after Clara returned from a date with Adrian, James confronted her. "Clara, I don't know what's happening to us," he said, his voice heavy with pain. "I miss you. I miss us." Clara felt a pang of guilt, but she couldn't bring herself to admit that she, too, was starting to feel lost. "I don't know what I'm doing, James," she whispered, her voice shaking. "But I thought this would make me feel alive. Instead, it's just making me feel empty." James reached for her hand, but Clara pulled away, her face full of regret. The distance between them was growing, and neither knew how to close it. It was a cold night when Clara returned home after another disappointing meeting with Adrian. She felt a wave of emptiness wash over her as she stood in the doorway, her heart aching. She missed James. She missed the connection they once had, the deep, unspoken bond that had brought them together in the first place. She sat down on the couch, staring at the empty space beside her where James used to sit. The silence in the room felt suffocating. She had wanted excitement, freedom, and yet, all she had found was loneliness. "I've made a mistake," she whispered to the empty room. "I never should have asked for this." But it was too late. James was no longer the man she could turn to for comfort. He had been too hurt, too confused by her actions, and now, she was the one who was left to face the consequences of her choices. The following day, James and Clara sat together in their living room, the tension between them palpable. Clara knew this conversation was inevitable, and yet, she dreaded it. "Clara," James began, his voice tight with emotion, "I can't keep doing this. I've tried to understand, but I don't know who you are anymore." Clara looked at him, her blue eyes filled with regret. "I don't know who I am anymore, either." James stood up, pacing the room. "I don't think we can fix this, Clara. You've changed. And I don't know if I can love the person you've become." Clara's heart shattered. She wanted to reach for him to apologize, but she knew it was too late. The damage had been done. The love they once shared was now a distant memory. In the weeks that followed, Clara found herself spending more and more time alone. The people she had met through the open relationship had all faded away, their fleeting connections leaving her feeling hollow. She longed for the days when she and James would talk late into the night, laughing and sharing their dreams. But now, those days seemed like a lifetime ago. Clara spent her evenings in the quiet of their apartment, wondering if she would ever find her way back to the person she used to be. One night, Clara stood by the window, gazing out at the Berlin skyline. She had tried to fill the void left by her marriage with fleeting pleasures, but nothing had worked. She felt more alone than ever. The realization hit her like a wave: she didn't need freedom. She didn't need excitement. What she needed was James. She needed his love, his support, his presence. And she had thrown it all away. Clara found James sitting on the couch, his back turned to her. He had been quiet for days, but tonight, she knew she had to speak. "James," she began, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm so sorry. I was selfish. I thought I needed something else, but all I really needed was you." James didn't turn around, but his shoulders relaxed. "Clara, I don't know if I can forgive you." Clara sat beside him, her heart in her throat. "Please, James. I made a mistake. I didn't realize what I had until it was almost too late. I love you. I always have. And I'm so sorry." It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight, but slowly Clara and James began to rebuild. Their love wasn't the same as before. It was different, scarred but real. They took things one day at a time, learning to trust each other again. In the end, Clara realized that love wasn't about novelty or excitement. It was about the quiet moments, the shared understanding, and the deep connection that only time and commitment could build. And so they began again, knowing that no matter what, they would always come back to each other.